allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to
approve.
I just have a quick question. There's something later on the agenda with regards to one of the invoices. Do we need to pull that out to approve the charter, or do we need to pull that out of this consent agenda?
Probably.
Okay. Okay, I can make a motion to approve consent agenda, but pulling out of the presentation of accounts is the Immel's invoice for hydrant replacement.
And Camira.
And come here, sorry.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call.
Aye.
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 Abstain, I was absent last meeting. Aye.
Aye.
Grace?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. 6, we need a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open public hearing for special assessments for street construction alley number 3.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, we will now open the public hearing for public comment.
Roger Warning, 305 Weston Barris.
He was here before for the planning and zoning.
Jason Abenshine,
Yep, that's me.
530 Hillside Court.
Excuse me. Yep, that's me.
Okay.
All right. Hi, everyone. I just want to take this opportunity to introduce myself. I'm Jason Abenshine. I'm also a candidate for the village board. Reason I wanted to introduce myself, my family and I moved to the village 3 years ago, and we've fallen in love with this community.
Sir, we're in the
Yeah.
middle of a public hearing. You can do that under the comment section.
Oh, I'm sorry. So I did that in the wrong section?
Yeah.
Very good.
We're in a
So-
public hearing for an alley, number 3.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Very good. Thank you.
Rob Raymer.
I'm Bob Reamer, 339 South Mill. Normally, from the way I understand, when you send out for a bid, the job has to be done the way the bid says. Well, they didn't do that. They shorted 80 ton of gravel. And they used a little more blacktop, but it appears the blacktop they put down is undercoat and not top coat. It's all open on the top, and I fear for the life expectancy of it with the frost and ice pop in the top. And then, as long as we're not gonna stick with the original bid, and I wouldn't care if the village was paying 100%, but I don't think you are. The landscaping, they did a terrific job on the dig out. There was virtually no turf damage whatsoever, and they did a nice job laying the blacktop. The landscaping was a joke. They made it worse than what it was, and there's just no way they spent over $1,000 on what they did, and they shouldn't have did anything because they made it worse than what it was. And you know where I stand on, I don't think it's right to bill any property owner the majority of a street project or sewer or any other village project. I pay taxes, the village owns the street, the village should maintain the street, and the property owner should pay a small percent. I do agree with that. Thank you.
Anyone else have a comment?
Katie Cal. Cato.
What?
329 mil.
Geez, yes. First of all, you kind of all know this is like our third meeting, fourth meeting, now where I stand. But my biggest thing was, the morning I got up, which was, like October 18th, it was like, okay, so we had just had rain. They poured, and they did everything when the ground was wet, there was puddles all over. Okay, fine. After they got done, it looked nice. And that was great. But then when they came back December 1st for the restoration, oh my goodness. I have pictures, if anybody cares to see, of before and after. Horrible. Horrible. And I don't believe that, I mean, you could have gone to Menards and got a bag of seed and dirt and sprinkled it the way they did. I have pictures of them, how they did it. I think it was a really piss poor job, really poor job. The topsoil that's all over the road, they put topsoil on the blacktop and sprinkled seed over it. On the blacktop, it's not gonna grow. And I know that there's special seed for different seasons, and I've been told that, you know what, it will probably grow, not when there's 2 inches of snow on the ground and it's December 1st. I don't believe that it would. And once again, my bottom line is, for 40 years, nothing was done. Nothing. And it got to the point, you tell me what one road in Hortonville got to the point where you couldn't plow. And then all of a sudden now, we're expected to take 100% of the cost. I don't think that that's fair. And number two is, okay, like right now, it's a snowmobile trail. Snowmobile goes on there, it's gonna wreck it in an instant. And it's like, I think it was kind of crammed together, and I am not impressed whatsoever with MCC. And I think that, I wouldn't come to your house and say, okay, I'm spending your money and I'm gonna do this crap job. This is our money, and we'd like it spent wisely if we have to spend it. It's the quality of the work, not just wham bam, thank you. That's what I got.
John Van, 402 South Lincoln.
Yes, I'm the owner of John D. Van Tolian, a bunch of storage units, land at Mountain and Menasha. Never seen a job go down like this. I got to meet Nathan, he was out there 3 times with me, and it was a disaster. It's ridiculous. I will say, restoration is not done because they threw grass over grass. The sod that was there, that's beautiful she talked about, they went right over the top of that. That's gonna rot and not grow. So restoration is not even close to $6,000 worth of done. Also, I have pictures, I refixed my driveway. So if you wanna see pictures, they put gray gravel down on my red driveway. I have red gravel at every property I own. They didn't care. They moved it 50 feet into my driveway. So I have a skid steer there I rented. I have the cost of a load from Spalding's gravel. I redid the whole driveway. I got pictures of all that. It was 7 inches of water at the start. Or is that about right, Nathan? That's the puddle they left. I had to redo the driveway to get water to run off over that blacktop. So I agree with them. It's not finished. It's not nice. The snowmobile will tear the hell out of that soft blacktop. It's not what you get on the road. It's all porous. It's like number 3 grade blacktop. I've never paid for a road in the 10 properties I own, ever. Welcome to Hortonville. So I am upset. Thanks. And MCC, I bought my gravel. They get it from, Spalding gets it from them. They have red and gray. My God, take the minute to frickin' do my driveway if you're gonna be in it, the right color. And I don't think, I'm particular And I worked on that property when it was Dan's Transmission. It did not look like that. There was 20 cars. It was shitty. I rebuilt that driveway already 5 years ago. Sorry, thanks.
And then we have Bob Jewell.
I too need to wait till
Okay.
afterwards.
That's all.
So, this is the public hearing, we can talk, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I know there's a snowmobile marker up there still, but the snowmobile trail hasn't gone down there from my understanding, I snowmobile. And it used to come out, the trail used to go through, if you run up, I think that's Lincoln right there, the T intersection, and it used to go straight through there. And years ago, the snowmobile trail went through there. I think the snowmobile club never took the sign down on the street, so just to allay that concern off to the side is that I don't expect you to see snowmobiles running down that road. Okay, so I understand snowmobiles tear up the road, and that's, that is what it is. There's no way around that, but we haven't had a trail through there for quite a while now. I think it's been, I can't even remember how many years it's been since it went through the, since it went straight through there and then came around and went around there. I'm not aware of the landscape. I thought they were coming back in the spring to do the landscaping.
They tried to put some in at the end to finish the project. I think what we can do is have our guys go out there and look at it in the spring and fix it to better standards.
It'll be a bigger job because you have to pull everything out. It's gonna be bigger than they did. They were there very short time and it was terrible.
Why would you have to pull everything out?
They put it on top of sod 2 inches down. That's gonna rot. It's not gonna get grass going.
But if grass grows on top of that, that shouldn't be a problem.
Would you like to see the pictures?
I would after.
Yeah, I'd love to see them too.
The sod was good sod. When that rots, it ferments. It's gonna be like, when you put your garbage in the back, it's not gonna really, maybe it will, I guess, maybe. I never had luck.
We can take a look at it for sure.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that stuff, and it is crappy clay. It's not topsoil. Don't walk through it because you'll become 2 inches taller.
What was the concern with the water?
I have a question about.
Let's go back to the snowmobile markers. I
Yeah.
just took down the snowmobile markers
Okay.
just this past Monday because somebody had vandalized them. So they are up yet, and Bob Bookman is looking to put them back up. So that is an active snowmobile trail.
Where would it connect to? There's no,
It gets you to Black Otter.
yeah, but no, it has to connect to the trail system though.
It comes off of the lake. So you come out behind Gilbert's, go down Bass Street to Lincoln, Lincoln through the alley, and then the alley to Black Otter. That's how they get to the Black
So you
Otter.
go all the way around it and come back?
Mhm.
So from the Black Otter Lake to Black Otter,
That's the road.
okay. I wasn't aware that even down Bass Street was still a snowmobile trail anymore.
Oh, yeah, that's,
Okay. All right. Well, we can,
Is there concern about the porous situation with the top coating?
I will make sure that our engineer checks it out in the spring and make sure it was done to spec.
Is that what we paid for? It's not number one grade plastic blacktop or?
I'd have to go back through the plans, but they should have built it to the specifications that were in the plan.
Yeah.
And if they didn't, then we can have recourse with that.
I guess I don't understand what the concern with was it water down when they started? Is that
They didn't finish the gravel.
Basically, there was no grading, so they put in the asphalt, and so you had a lip of asphalt, and so like if you drove into his driveway, you'd sink down, so there was a bunch of water that was just standing there.
It made a lake.
Yeah.
He came a few days later, puddle was smaller, but it was a lake, from whenever I waited 2 months, they didn't come. And then they did come, and then I tore all theirs out and put red gravel in to match my whole parking lot. And they sell the area. They got the red or the light colored lime looking gravel. I never stopped and talked to them. I should have talked to them and probably could have had it solved that day, but I didn't think they would do that. And whoever wants to see that picture,
I would take a look at it.
Okay.
after the meeting, or if you want to leave them, it's fine. So the contract right now is done, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think we still have contingency on it for
Yeah.
stuff in the spring.
Okay.
So these are all things that we can take a look at in the spring. I have a punch list started. We'll take our engineer out there and make sure that everything was done to spec
Before we release the other part.
before we release the contingency that we hold back.
Okay. Okay. As far as dealing with them, that's all we can really do. Right? Okay.
Is
Any
there
other questions?
Yeah, is there anything in the proposal about color of gravel or anything?
No, but there probably should have been. That's what I was just thinking.
Yeah.
And it's common sense, but if you don't have it right in the plan, sometimes common sense isn't as common as it used to be.
Curious,
Yeah, and they should, maybe could have done it on the restoration side. Maybe, who cares what color gravel is underneath that road, right? But if you're gonna get 50 feet in the mine to try to get rid of the water problem and you still don't fix it, so I fixed the water problem, and I'll show you the pictures. And I got half as much that you're asking for the driveway and me fixing it to my standard, which is just like everybody would want in their house, or wherever their business, or whatever they have.
Any other questions? Okay, then I would need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are now moving to 7, pre-registered citizens to be heard. Please state your name and address. Comments are limited to 5 minutes, and the board cannot comment back to you. So if you would just speak.
All right, give this a second run. Sorry about that mistake there. Yeah, I'm Jason Abenshine, as I mentioned before. I'll be a candidate for the village board here. Folks, I would like to hear what your concerns as well. Like I said, my family and I moved here 3 years ago, and we fell in love with this community. The reason I'm running for the board is I want to get back to the village we love here, and I want to see it prosper. We have a 3-year-old son at home, and we're here for the long haul, so we want to see the schools flourish, we want to see the businesses flourish, the parks. I'm very excited about the splash pad coming to Alonzo Park. So I want to continue moving forward with these great things and also push forward to make the village a better place. So again, thank you for your time. Nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Bob Jewell. I'm also a candidate here for the board. I've lived here a short period of time, but I've had connections here for over 40 years through family members. I've got a daughter that's a teacher, a son-in-law that was a teacher here in Hortonville. And again, I just want to take the time to introduce myself here, and I appreciate your support and also your, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
No.
Okay. We'll go to 8, committee reports. A, library board. Pat?
There was a meeting the end of January, and basically a pretty quick meeting. I was not there, I apologize, but I'm just reporting for Ally and the others. Made 2023 budget line adjustments, and the next meeting will be the 27th of February.
Any questions for Pat? Okay, we'll go to 9, unfinished business from previous meetings, and there is none. 10, new business. A, discussion and possible action on resolution R-8-24, alley number 3, special assessment.
So you should have 2 final special assessments in your packet. One is all the cost on the residents, and then the other is basically the village taking the larger portion, which is basically what we can afford without dipping into the amounts for Mill Street.
I'm sorry, you said it would come out of the budget for Mill Street, or?
No, yeah, if we increased it more than what the second one is,
Then it would.
then it would. It would come out, well, it would come out of the CIP amount that's dedicated towards that. We had a little leftover from one of the other projects that we were able to add in potentially to this one as well. So that would substantially lower across the board the assessments.
Based on the discussion tonight and some of the contingencies, is it something that we take action, or I know there's some limited time frames, and maybe this is maybe more for the attorney. Is this the final resolution? I mean, I'm reading this as final resolution declaring intent. So if this were approved tonight, is it potentially assessing them prior to us addressing the contingencies in the spring? Or what do you recommend here?
Portions of it have, we still have contingency on the back end.
So this would be the final amount that's levied. It becomes a lien against the property once you take that action to pass a final special assessment. Typically, I mean, it's not something that's intended to be amended or changed. What I'm hearing is that we might ask the contractor to come back and to do some additional work, but I'm not hearing that we anticipate we would be getting any sort of refund. If we did, in that case, and the amounts that were levied were in excess of what was actually paid, then those amounts would be due to those individuals. We can't profit on it. But again, it doesn't sound to me as though that's likely to occur.
So taking action on this tonight wouldn't hinder any of the process that we're doing with.
I think the only thing we would do is if we found that it was built outside of the specifications
Scope of
that
the
should,
budget,
then they'd have to come in and redo it at
Yeah.
their own cost. They wouldn't be getting any kind of rate.
Okay.
I would suggest that we go with the lower number.
It's 52% reduction.
Yeah, it's more than half. It's cutting the cost by more than half.
And then we would also have to agree on how many installments,
So,
if you wanted something different than the 4 under 5B.
typically we go out, what is it, $1,000 a year, is that what we do?
Well,
Or-
it would come out.
Jim, can
Or-
you speak up? We're having a hard time hearing you on this end.
Sorry,
Thank you.
I'm just trying to remember what we typically, how we typically gauge the number of years. It's approximately $1,000 a year. Is there?
It wouldn't be.
No?
No, if you take, this would be, if you're going with the numbers for the village paying over half, then this would be their assessments.
Yeah.
So it would be less. If you go 4 years, it
No,
would be less.
No, I didn't mean 4. I meant, usually when 4 years seems a little, like, a little bit of a stretch.
Special assessment is meant to be a flexible tool.
Yeah.
And so I get nervous whenever I have a municipality saying, oh, well, you know, we want to see it be no more than $1,000 a year, whatever. I think you really need to look at the final cost to the property owner, and you need to look at the makeup of the property, the nature of the work that's being done. I mean, there are a lot of factors to take into consideration.
Yeah.
So it's really case by case, and I think that it should be thought about and discussed that way,
Yeah.
if at all possible.
Yeah, I didn't mean that that's what we should stick to. I just meant that's usually our starting point for kickoff for a discussion is that
Sure.
we look at, like, what the most expensive one on here is $2366.49. So I would say you would start off at the discussion at around 3 years and then
27.
And then
for that
decide.
One owner though, it's 27 for a single owner. So it's almost $3,000.
27.
Because you had the two, there's two by the same person.
Yeah, oh, okay, yeah. Oh, Matthew Oak, I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
And the last assessment that we did, I think we did 4 years, if I remember right. So I wouldn't see a reason why we wouldn't just, and I get it, it's individual case by case, but, you know, the interest, I mean, they can always pay, but the interest is not something that is gained or earned by the village, right? It's whatever the village is paying for interest, right? No,
Not for this small of a one.
Not for this
We're not
small
gonna
one.
take a loan out for each 10 grand.
okay.
So the interest would still be charged like any other interest, but the village would be.
And there are some admin fees and that sort of thing, so. I'd be okay with 4 years.
I'm fine with 4. I just was gonna start off the discussion somewhere.
If there are no other questions, I would need a motion on which.
I want to chime in a little bit. Thank you. After hearing how the project went, and maybe it doesn't sound like it's complete yet, and I think Julie maybe asked a similar question, but can this wait until it's complete before assessments are assigned?
Can I answer that question?
Please.
You
Yes,
can certainly
please.
wait until, assessments can occur before work is done, while work is being performed, or after the work has been completed. It needs to occur within a reasonable amount of time. And so if you said, we wanna wait until spring to look at this again, you could. But again, understanding that the price is the price, whether or not there's additional work to be done. I don't know what might change, what your change in circumstances between now and then might be.
I guess I was just concerned with how the project is going. I understand if both things happen, it has to happen in the same similar amount of time. I understand that. And I just, after what was shared in the public hearing,
So are you
just
suggesting?
thinking of how the residents are going to be processing what's ahead.
So number 5 in the resolution, it references a date of April 19th, 2024, if payment in full. So what you're saying is that we could make that, let's say, June 1st or May 31st or something.
So again, once you take final action, that assessment is levied and it's a lien against the property. So you could change, as long as that's fine here with how you guys are planning to receive those funds, and you could change the due date. But if I own property that's being assessed, even though my due date might be June 1st, if I go to sell my house tomorrow, it's still a lien that needs to be satisfied before the property can transfer. So the impact is not that the assessment is necessarily delayed, it's just a different day by which that individual could make a payment to avoid incurring interest.
And I think if we put off the actual assessment itself, then the property owners are left with a question mark as to what's going to happen and how much the assessment is actually going to be. Instead of knowing what it's going to be, knowing what the potential payment schedule is going to be and how things are going to move forward. It's a degree of certainty to close things up and be done with it, rather than saying, well, let's kick it down the road until we get them to come back in the spring and take a look and see what we have to do to fix the road. Right? I would be in favor of getting it done now. At least then you know what you're dealing with, and the property owner's portion of it, with the exception of maintaining their own their own input for quality control purposes, is settled and done.
The burden's on us to make sure that the work
Yes.
is completed with the contractor.
So we'll have our engineer there. It's just the site conditions right now, you can't really tell. We'll have to wait for everything to thaw and make sure. But we'll just bring the whole specification package and plans and what was passed and make sure that that's what was there. If not, it'll be on the contractor to come back and fix it. Or our staff will make sure that it's up to the specifications.
Have they been notified of the concerns at all?
Yeah, so that's why they had to come back and do some of the gravel.
Okay.
I didn't know that it was put in the wrong color. Apologize for that. Because it was supposed to be done in the first place, and then we found out that they hadn't done it, so then they came back, and it was, I think, their last project of the year. So I think everything kind of got rushed, unfortunately. But, you know, they still have to be held to the specifications of the approved plans.
That's
So,
one of the contingencies, we can.
yeah, we'll have our engineer there as soon as site conditions allow it and walk the whole thing. It's about all we can do at this point.
Does the use of it as a snowmobile trail have to get, has that been factored in by the contractors?
Not sure, but we can discuss it when we're on site.
I think that's something we should probably address anyway. Especially if we're paying and the residents are paying for that road. And if it's not designed to be run across with snowmobiles, we should, as a board, look at that before the next winter. I wasn't aware it was still an active trail. And I ride whenever there's snow. Well, we haven't had snow for years, so you know, that hasn't really been a problem. But
So what does everyone feel about the date for the payment in full? Do you feel that should be moved out a little, or to June 1st or something? And then we would need to be sure that that would get changed on this resolution, or if we leave it the same thing with the 4 annual installments. So we would need to put that also in the motion. So what is everyone's feelings?
I wouldn't mind pushing out the date a couple months just for their comfort of seeing the progress that's gonna happen. I mean, they're obviously, the dollar amounts are gonna change, but it gives them, you know, that warm fuzzy feeling that the corrections are made and that it looks nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't.
Yeah. And understandably, it still is a lien on their property once this resolution is passed. But just the idea that they're not, if they want to pay it in full, they're not cutting a check prior to some of that.
Seeing it.
Seeing something,
pretty, yeah.
at least action being taken.
I have no preference. It's only a couple months. It doesn't.
Okay, then we would need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve R-08-24 with the assessment amount total of $10,000.
And changing the date.
Oh, and changing the date to June 19th, 2024.
Installments, same?
Installments the same.
I'll second.
Roll call, Grace?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. B, discussion and possible action on Otto Miller Park Master Plan contract with Martinson and Isley.
So the contract that kind of outlines what they would be doing is in the pamphlet. We kind of discussed this once before on the first phase of this project, so now this would be the second phase, with Martinson basically creating a master plan for Otto Miller and working with the village, the school district, booster clubs, and Hortonville Youth Sports, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, and kind of also what's from what we've done on the first part of it, getting a consistent long-term vision for this area of where the park wants to go as far as amenities, upgrades to bleachers, concrete areas, making sure that we have a stormwater system that's gonna be able to handle rainfall with these updates if they go through, and just kind of getting all the different entities together and on the same page so that we have a master document to work from instead of, one group trying this and one group trying that. So this is kind of the next step in that process.
Can you explain, Aaron, I think it's great everybody's working together on this. Is the cost all on the village or is it divided
So
amongst
the cost for this plan would be on the village,
okay.
and then the implementation of the upgrades outlined in the plan would then be on the project partners. So we're kind of making sure that everybody's on the same page, has a document to work off of, and then letting them go, basically, with the different things they want
With the
to
exception of stormwater, probably.
do. Yeah.
We might have to eventually pay for the stormwater installation. It's not typically something they want to fund. They want to fund the fun stuff.
Yeah,
The
I
stuff
get
that
that.
benefits them.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that, we may not want to help with some of that either, but I think at this point, we're the ones that are kind of getting everybody's ducks in a row. And then kind of taking it from there.
One cohesive plan.
So I do have a question about utilities. I know that there's been several groups over the years that have laid electric line here, or they've done their own work.
Yes.
So
It was a mess.
it's a mess, but the village, when, like, we do this and now there's gonna be a utility layout that's approved,
So part of the first phase was Martinson hired a consulting firm that does this, and they went and marked all the underground wires.
okay.
So they surveyed, so now we actually have the locations of all the underground wires in a CAD file and GIS system, so we know where everything is. That was part of the first phase of the project, is just finding out where everything is so that we
Yeah.
can,
So if there's like a storm sewer issue, let's say that there's something that breaks underground and it damages some of this electrical stuff because we weren't aware that there was a line that was privately put by someone on a weekend.
Yep.
Okay.
Nope, and that's what we wanted to make sure, because when we were redigging the irrigation line, we found some electrical line that nobody knows where they're at.
Mhm.
Just, like I said, it's kind of a mess, so we should have that part of it finally figured out now. That was part of the first phase of this project. So now that we have all the existing conditions and we know where everything is, we can move forward with creating a plan for the future.
The grant funding part of it, if they don't do it?
Right now, that's not, we're not going with that. I don't think we're there yet. And I'm hoping, once we get this plan together, maybe something that we look at doing next year. And I would think that that may be something that we do kind of jointly, and that the village just doesn't take on themselves.
Basically, we are agreeing to do the professional services tonight, so we would need a motion on that to go ahead.
We got two different numbers on here.
Yeah, we have two different numbers.
$24,745.
I got 545 is the other on the sheet.
Yes, the
Tally.
front page is 24,745.
That attachment's incorrect. It's 24,745.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the agreement for professional services for Martinson and, how do you pronounce it? Isley Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $24,745.
I'll second.
Roll call, Grace?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. C, discussion and possible action on Immel's invoice for hydrant replacement.
So at the last meeting, during my report, I talked about a water main leak that we had on Keezy. Basically, when we tried to open up one of the hydrants during that, the whole thing cracked. So there was an emergency replacement that we had to do on that hydrant, and this is the cost for that emergency replacement on the hydrant. So this has already been done. I wanted to bring it to the board just to let you know the invoice for it.
Okay, what we would need is a motion to accept this invoice and then to accept it being paid with these vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve the ML invoice in the amount of $9,600 for hydrant replacement during a water leak on Giese Street.
Second?
Roll call, Grace.
Sorry, I just wanna ask, like, could we look into, like, there being funding from the state for, like, old fire hydrants, or maybe there's a grant for something like this? I'm sure, you know, I've gathered over time that some of our, systems are just,
That would be a
some of the
discussion.
support.
That would be a future discussion. Right now, we are just
Okay.
approving this invoice. And
Well, I guess that maybe if the funds existed, that would influence, but I understand.
so I would need your roll call vote.
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carried. We will go to D, discussion and possible action on Camira invoice.
So this is a invoice for our fair that we use at the plant to take phosphorus out of our effluent wastewater. And it's on to the board agenda because it's over $5,000.
Okay, we need a motion also on this, and then a motion that it gets paid with these vouchers.
I'll make a motion to approve and pay invoice from, is it Camira Water Solutions in the amount of $11,778.06.
I'll second.
Roll call, Grace.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. E, discussion and possible action on summer rec fees.
I'm gonna just turn it over to our rec director, so Siri can kind of present to you.
Hi, if you don't know, I'm Siri Cueva. I'm the director of Hortonville Recreation. Currently, I am a senior at St. Albert College for elementary education. I started working rec at 16 with Mr. Summers, and then following that, I was the assistant director for Tony Hannon for 2 years. And last year, I took over as director after the July 4th break. This will be my first year planning the program, and I'm very excited. So the tentative calendar is already set for Hortonville Rec. Bruce tickets were purchased, and we're finalizing dates for other field trips. And I plan on pursuing a few grants for transportation fees. I would like to increase the cost of registration because I want to include program t-shirts and reusable water bottles with the registration fees. So the program t-shirts would include increased visibility on field trips, and the water bottles will cut down on garbage and decrease trash in the park. So the fees were previously $150 for residents and $225 for non-residents. I would like to increase the fees by $50, so that would be $200 for residents and $275 for non-residents. And I will also be seeking out sponsorships for both the t-shirts and the water bottles. And I would like all sponsorships and donations to remain within the rec program. Any questions?
Siri, do
Basically-
you know, I'm sorry.
I figured it out, and it comes to, by increasing it, only $33 a week for our residents and $45 for non. So it's actually very reasonable.
Yeah, if they go from, if they're there every day, Monday through Thursday, it's for residents, $139 a day, or an hour.
Yeah.
And then, non-residents, $190 an hour.
Mm-hmm. I figured that out too.
If you go over the 75 residents and 75 non-residents, do you still look at if a resident came and said, I really want my children in this, would you accept them over the 150?
So usually we don't get up to 150 like right away. I mean, this year registration is going to open up on March 1st, and I've been like putting things out earlier than usual. But it's usually, last year I think we had 148.
Okay.
So like we didn't get all the way up there, but I know Mr. Summers said like one year they were at 200.
Yes.
So that's why we capped it. But if like there's like one or two people, it's not that big of a deal to add more. But as long as it's not like 10 or 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
I assume at some threshold you have to like have another volunteer because you can only have,
Yeah.
you know,
Mhm.
and that's a whole nother cost, you know, to offset, so.
Yeah. Volunteers actually for the high school, all high schoolers have to have 30 hours. So we can ask high schoolers to come in and help on field trip days that we're out. So, and volunteers don't get paid. I just put their hours in. And they have to have 30 to graduate high school.
Do you know when the last time was that fees were raised? Do you have any?
They were $100 when I started. I think the next year they were raised up. I'm not sure. So that would be 2014, 2015 is when they were raised, I think.
Okay.
I know we talked about a raise, I think, after Mike left,
Yeah.
but I can't remember if we actually approved it.
I don't ever remember raising the fees,
No.
but maybe that didn't go to the board, you know?
I agree.
I don't remember raising it.
It's been.
I remember talking about it after Mike
Right.
left, but I don't think we actually did
Yeah.
it.
No.
They haven't changed. I don't know if they changed. They might have still been 150 for residents when I started.
It's been quite a while.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were
what we-
$100 when I was in rec, so that was a long time ago.
Not that.
Any other questions? If not, we would need a motion on what we would like to do. Either leave them the same or raise them.
I would make a motion to raise the summer recreation fees to the suggested amount of $200 for resident and $275 for non-resident.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Grace?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank you.
Thanks, Siri.
F, discussion and possible action on O-3-24, repealing of utility special assessment ordinance.
So, a few years ago, we removed the street assessment one. This one was buried in our utility assessment. I didn't realize they had a separate one under utilities. So, the idea is to remove that as well. This doesn't affect our ability to put special assessments on for utilities. This was another constraint around that.
Any questions?
I'll make a motion. Go ahead.
Sorry, just, I'm curious. This is just something that was kind of hiding, and you just want to see it be removed, just so I understand.
It was something that wasn't known to staff. At the time when we removed the last one, when we were looking through the utility ordinance recently, we found it. It's not like it was hiding somewhere.
So it's part of the ordinance cleanup.
It was, right, yeah.
I assume removing this gives more flexibility to this board, future boards, and instead of tying down saying this is what we're supposed to do, where we could potentially be in conflict with what our own ordinances say.
Correct, for the
Okay.
same reasons that we discussed before. You know, somebody's building a $13 million home on a property that requires an extension, we might treat them differently than the person who's building a $250,000 home and requiring a different kind of extension for services. This just, instead of having a formula that you look at, you as a board, think about each assessment critically and decide what's best for that project.
Any other questions? Otherwise, we need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve O-03-24, repealing chapter 42, article 2.
I'll second that.
Roll call, Grace?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. G, discussion and possible action on resolution R-05-24, 2023 final budget amendments.
So this is basically the cleanup at the end of the year of our general fund. It all adds out to basically a balanced budget and zeroed out between revenue and expenditures. There was still some revenue that was excessive that we didn't necessarily need. So we actually brought in more money, but I wasn't gonna amend the budget to make it so that those ones weren't in there. Basically, the idea is to have it as a zero budget, but the village came in positive again this year for our general fund.
Any questions?
I guess I just wonder, and I probably shouldn't have this question, but I do. Library fines and library copier fax charges are listed in there. They're not part of a library budget per se, or does that?
The issue with the way that we used to do it, because it's
Okay.
not separate.
Okay,
So next year,
it
would be, it's technically under the library's supervision, but they did an amendment, but it didn't necessarily work with everything else that we do for our amendments. This still balances their budget as
Right.
well. But next year, it'll just be, you guys would do your own, and it wouldn't matter, because it wouldn't affect our general fund, it affects your 200 fund.
Kind of the same as the realignment was when we did it, and we still have years of previous balances, and now there's nothing.
I assumed that, but when I saw library, I just needed
Yeah.
some clarification on that. Thank you.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I would need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve R-05-24, the 2023 budget amendments.
I'll second.
Roll call, Grace?
Aye.
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 Motion carried. H, discussion and possible action on resolution R-06-24, amending personnel manual.
This is kind of, basically we changed this year to do the embroidered clothing for village employees that don't have clothing allowances. And rather than having it at their anniversary date, the idea is to have it on a fiscal year. That way you're not dealing with people who have carryover into the next year. It's a little cleaner for staff.
I thought we already did this, or
We
did we
did.
just change the dollar amount and not the time frame?
No, you didn't change, we didn't change the time frame. We only did it, we did it based on anniversary date.
Okay, so we
rather-
changed the dollar amount at that point, but we didn't do
Yep.
the.
We didn't do fiscal year, so that's the difference.
You just really need a motion, just to,
Accept the change.
To change it.
just minor change. I'll make a motion to approve R-06-24, the resolution to amend village personnel manual.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. I, discussion and possible action on resolution R-07-24, amending 2024 budget hometown holiday.
So this is kind of how we're gonna start doing more of our resolutions. I think it's more transparent to the board when we're going through different things. To kind of do these as contracts come in and they're a little over what was budgeted or a little under what was budgeted, at least then at the time of their passing, we kind of are being upfront with you guys on that. The amendment with the hometown holiday portion with the donation and the event reserve fund, that was put in the budget to be received in 2024. We received it at the end of the year. I think it was December 26th or something. So it was actually in last year's budget or finances. So basically, at the end of the year, it went into the reserve fund. And basically, we're changing the budget to take it out of where it would have came in through a donation, and we're pulling it in through the reserve fund.
To match where you're putting it.
Correct.
So the resolution references the 2024 budget amendment for Christmas tree event and Otto Miller Park.
Right, so then the Otto Miller Park portion is basically the quote for, we knew we were gonna be doing the Otto Miller Park plan that Aaron was talking about tonight. We're taking funds from the Public Works professional services line and adding it into the Otto Miller professional services line to pay for that.
I asked the question because on the agenda, it doesn't reference Otto Miller Park in this line item. So are we able to approve it because we did talk about the Otto Miller Park?
Still R7.
We did have an agenda item where we did discuss the Otto Miller Park that
Right.
went in, but not, it wasn't exactly the same, but. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a motion.
I just
Okay.
have one question though. The number doesn't match with the amount from the Otto Park.
So there's still an additional money in the Auto Miller Professional Services for utilities, like trash pickup and stuff like that. What it does match is so we had $20,000 in the Auto Miller Professional Service budget line item for the plan, and then we needed an extra $4,755, 45,
$745,
and that's where the $255 is left. Does that $4,745 came out of that and went into the Auto Miller?
So the whole budget of 27,245 includes the 24,745 plus some additional garbage and
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Are we good?
Yep.
I'll make the motion to approve R-7-24.
I'll second.
Roll call, Grace?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carried. J, discussion and possible action on setting a public safety meeting. So what are you thinking?
For agenda or for meeting date?
For the meeting date?
I figured you guys figure that, whenever works for the committee, I think.
And the agenda.
Topic.
The agenda's topics is, there's some parking issues near the school, discussion potentially on some parking on Ninth Street. There's some issues brought up by a few board members on a fire truck being able to get through 2 lanes potentially if there's snow. There was the stop sign on Lincoln and Bath, or to put one on there, and then there's, I think, was there one other? Okay, it's just that.
This item just selects set up the meeting though, right?
I'm sorry, I can't understand.
Yes.
Just to set up the meeting.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Just to set up the meeting.
Not talking about the
Correct, we can't talk about him. I have an open schedule item on my calendar right now that I have to wait until sometime this week before it's resolved. So, and that's going forward for the next 3 weeks. So I think we're gonna have to push this one off a little bit because I can't commit to any.
Okay, let's look 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out.
Yeah, we'll look 3-4 weeks out. Yeah.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
I don't think we're wanting to meet next week or
Okay.
anything like that. At least
Okay.
I'm not. Sorry, didn't mean it like that, but we'd rather have them on the schedule so it gives us some more time to kind of prep.
Right.
So do you want to throw some dates out there and throw them at us, or Jim?
Yeah.
Because public safety would be Jim, Shauna, Jane, and Pat.
I'm gone from March 7th to the 13th. Other than that, I think
I'm gone the 18th.
7th to the
22nd.
13th.
When's school out? What-
18th.
14th, we have planning and zoning.
Your
In March.
18th to the 27th.
Hold on.
how soon did you want
So
to
that
meet?
pretty much kills all of March.
No, it's 11th through 15th. I'm out.
Oh, 11th
If
through
we
15th.
decide to go
All
the
right.
route that we're gonna
Well,
go,
technically the
we
eighth.
would like to have something at least before summer,
Okay.
so we can do some type of painting.
8th through the
So
15th. So that kills the first half of March.
Go
Yeah.
ahead and hand, so,
So it's not a huge rush,
No.
but yet,
So it's 21st is a board meeting.
The last week in March.
That's what I was looking at, was like the
Is everyone here?
The 28th. Wasn't it, when was it, spring break?
Spring break is
It's
when I'm
spring
gone.
break for the
Oh,
Hortonville
that's the-
School
That's the
District.
week prior. The 11th through 16th is mine, but I
Okay.
Bethlehem not.
Oh, when is Hortonville's spring break?
I just said it's the last week of March.
That's the last week of March?
25th through the 29th.
Okay, so we're looking at April then. April 11th?
Are you gonna have a
There's a planning
planning
and
and zoning on April 11th?
Probably at some point, I would
Second.
guess.
So 11 probably isn't good.
Okay. April 9th?
Is everyone available April 9th?
As of right
I
now.
won't be on the board anymore.
Yes, you
Well,
will.
well,
yeah, you will.
Oh, I will?
Yeah, how, what is it?
That's
What
what
is
the other
the
thing I was
date
thinking about,
that-
we're pushing it out
Third
pretty far.
Tuesday.
The third Tuesday, so you're on till the
14th.
third Tuesday.
Okay.
One more week.
Which would
Try.
be the
Yeah,
Good
we'll
luck.
have 1
So
week
April
left.
9th?
April 9th?
April 9th?
Could the meeting be before April 9th, so that like, this board can talk about it, or is that not a big deal? But you'll have,
It's based on schedules.
Yeah, I don't think anything on the agenda is that, is gonna be
No.
that controversial with the full board, regardless of who's
well,
here.
just, theoretically, if you have like two brand new people at the,
No, we
They
will
don't
so
not.
if it's on the screen.
They don't take office till the third Tuesday in April.
So April 15th, no, April
Okay.
15th, the new board would
Okay,
go into effect.
thanks.
Yeah, but if we make the 9th and the 18th is. the
So
next
what
meeting.
time on April 9th?
Like 6 o'clock is fine, I think.
6 o'clock?
Yeah.
Everyone have that? We're okay with that? Nathan? Okay. We'll go to K, discussion and possible action on setting up cow for discussion on Maltese pathway in downtown. So what are you thinking for that?
That one probably should be discussed somewhat sooner than April. Basically, we kind of need to figure some of this stuff out now, whether or not we want to have a decision on it all. So probably
You want it before a board meeting?
best, yeah.
So either the 7th or the 21st?
Yep.
7th works.
Oh,
Yeah, how much
Oh,
time do
what?
you need?
March.
We can ready now, so.
So like at 5 o'clock?
Yeah, that'd be good.
Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah,
So,
Yeah,
board
7th
meeting
and
day.
21st.
it's before a board meeting, you're already.
Right.
That's the-
So it'd be before a board
Yeah.
meeting at 5. An hour is good?
Should be. maybe.
Okay. Then we will go to L, discussion and possible action on setting up a public works meeting. Shauna,
Yeah,
that
so
is,
what is the topics on that?
Shauna's the chair, Jim, Grace, and Julie.
The main item is discussions about our tree branch program and some potential changes to it that would hopefully work out better. So it's nothing super urgent by any means. Trying to get a deep date.
So we're back to April, since your schedule is, Jim?
6,
4 before a board meeting on the
Before a
21st.
board meeting?
Yeah, probably. In fact, I don't even think April 9th is going to work. Actually, I don't think, just going back, we're going to have to figure out a different date. April 9th won't work for me for public safety either.
Okay,
So we'll do an email because I can't.
yeah.
It's going to take me, my schedule is a mess right now.
So can we do the 21st before a board meeting for that public works one? Does that work for everybody? Just even a half an hour before, 5:30 on the 21st of March?
Yes.
Since we already used the 7th for
Okay.
cow.
So March 21st.
Grace,
at-
does that work for you? Grace?
Yeah,
Is
Yeah.
a half hour
I
sufficient?
think half hour will work.
I think so.
So
5:30? Okay, so it's at 5:30. We'll go to M, discussion on parking, public parking permits.
This was from the guy who came to the last meeting, asking about public parking during the winter, no parking hours on the street.
Chris, what are your thoughts?
Well, I had a phone conversation with the gentleman, and we've had a mild winter. We take in consideration that if somebody calls and they need to park on the street, we grant them permission with, we look at how many times that they're doing it, because we've had some village residents that have basically abused that, and they are parking, they're requesting to park there every night. So we kind of take it one person at a time. So I gave them that option. I don't like the option, and I think it would be a bad idea for the public works, because if we open it up to the parking lot of the old municipal building that we had, that would be one parking lot that I could think of, but, and then now we have vehicles that are parked in there, and you guys are trying to empty out those parking lots. With those vehicles parked in there, we don't know when they're gonna leave or how long they're gonna leave. So my personal opinion would be is to basically leave it the way that it is, and they can call for permission, and we will grant them permission as long as they're not abusing the permissions.
I think that's a good idea. to
Assuming
leave
that
it
there's no
as
weather
is.
coming or whatever,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
Yep, and we base it off of that, and we do tell them that, we're gonna grant you permission to park tonight, but if something, I mean, it's Mother Nature, we don't know what's gonna happen, we kind of assume what's gonna happen, but if it's any more than a certain amount of inch that it's gonna snow, you have to get your vehicles off the road.
What does everyone else think?
I think it's an expense thing. I think that I had a discussion about this with Chris, and we were talking about, I mean, we're not like Appleton where we plow one side of the street and then we come back and plow the other side of the street. We pay a contract with the county and they come in and plow when they get here. And if we have cars on the street, it's not getting plowed. And the only way that it's gonna get plowed is if we were to pay somebody to come and do it again. And, I mean, it's been a mild winter, and that's great for people that need to park, because they can just call and ask and get approval to do it. But when it's not a mild winter, I think it's an unnecessary expense that other people would have to pay for, so that someone that, that doesn't have enough parking for their residents would end up utilizing. I don't think it's a fair trade. I think it's a significant inconvenience. I think anybody who's dealt with parking lots knows that you can't leave a vehicle in a parking lot all winter long, or even extended stretches, or even a single stretch where the snowplows come through, because it ends up being an additional expense because you have to go back and plow through wherever the cars were. So I see it as a cost thing. I see it as an inconvenience for the person who wants to park, but I see it more or less as a cost. I think if we let people do, there was a suggestion for like a permit, and I don't like that idea as well, because I think it introduces confusion, because you would see somebody parking on the street on a regular basis, and other people would think that they could do that, and they can't because they wouldn't have a permit. And I think you'd end up getting tickets because of confusion. So I don't think it's a good idea to change any of the policies that we currently have. I think they're very accommodating, and I think they work well.
And just to clarify, the permit parking would be to allow them to park in the old administration building.
Yeah.
That would be a permit parking lot. So,
He was asking to park on the street though.
he was asking you to park in another parking lot, is what he said to me.
Oh, he told me we should allow them to park on the street.
He did. He also said that
with a
he
permit.
wanted to do like Appleton does, on even days. However, during the winter, I don't know of a municipality other than maybe Milwaukee or something, but all your local municipalities ban parking from a certain date, from November 15th till April 1st or whatever, so we're pretty much all the same.
Was his situation due to be having a rental? Or-
No, well, he lives in a rental. He lives in an apartment complex. He's just got too many vehicles.
He's got too many vehicles, so it's not that he doesn't have any parking.
Right.
Like, we used to have a rental, and we always had to provide off-street parking for them in the winter months.
Correct.
And that's just something you take on as a landlord for the adequate amount of parking. I like the idea of leaving it up to the discretion of who's on duty. So if they call and ask if, like, I've got a guest overnight and we'd like to leave a vehicle on the road overnight, then that officer giving report, they're aware of it, and they can also assess the weather at that time too. If we've got a snowstorm coming, then the answer may be no. So, but more times than likely it's yes. So, okay, I'm fine leaving it the way it is.
Are we good then? All right. We'll move to 11, report of village officials. A, clerk treasurer, Jane.
My report was in the packet.
When you did your voting test, everything came out okay?
We did have one person attend. Our new poll worker, Kristen Ott.
Awesome. Any other questions? Okay, we'll go to B, Director of Public Works, Aaron.
My report was in the packet, and just the FYI for the board, I will be out next week on vacation.
Okay. Any questions? No questions for Aaron. Okay, we will go to C, Police Chief Chris.
My report is in the packet. I'd also like to report that our new Officer Stevens, is out on his own. He is off of field training because he had 21 years of experience in law enforcement. And then I just ordered the new squad from All World today. So I have no idea when that's going to come in. Might not get here until October. The squads are just running really, really behind. And my administrative assistant will be gone all next week.
Any questions for Chris?
You guys take your
Yeah.
Thank you for the speed monitor
Oh,
on Nye
yes.
Street.
Yes.
Appreciate that.
Good.
On behalf of the residents of Nye Street.
Right. What we did was we moved the speed board closer into town. So we took it off of the 35-mile-an-hour pole that was located closer to Midway, and we moved it almost in front of Pat's house. We also took, because we get quite a few complaints of speeding on Nye Street, so we had DPW went in there and they replaced the orange flags. So it's kind of like it's in your face now. There's a flashing sign, so we'll leave it there for a couple weeks and then take it down. We'll put it right back up again. So you're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, D, library director, and Ally is out.
She did just ask me to let people know that there's a new book group starting on the 22nd, Books, Brews, and Views. It's targeting people that like action and suspense novels. So Fight Club is the first book, and Misery by Stephen King on March 14th. And Zeus Spectacular is on March 2nd, which is a Saturday.
Okay. Then we'll go to E, attorney, Ashley. Okay. F, administrator, Nathan.
My report was sent out, just kind of been working with a few different developers, moving forward on that. I did have to send out a notice to a few industrial park businesses that are outside of our covenants. Those have been for a long period of time without being in the covenants, and so we have a few that are upset. I've explained to them that they can apply through the planning and zoning and then through the village board for a variance of those issues if they would like, and they can just basically do that through a letter to myself, and then I will put them on the agenda and they can come and talk to you guys and planning and zoning first and state their case.
I have one question. Someone came to me about the building in the Catholic cemetery for cremations, and they wanted to know if the village was going to do that with the Union Cemetery. Have you ever thought about going further with that?
Yeah, I've looked at that a few different times. That's what we're kind of saved portions of the cemetery for, potentially. And actually I've been talking with Matthews and Monument about coming up with a plan for it, because it's the best thing for the cemetery, because otherwise you're gonna run out a lot sooner.
Well, there's a portion too that we can't really dig in, isn't there? So it could be put on,
there is some
it's
spots
put on a
with ledge
slab.
effect, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's you can add a lot more people in such a small space,
yeah.
which would allow us for a little more for the prep care fees, which would be beneficial for us going forward, because at some point, once it's full, we have to maintain it continuously, and we have no revenue source then at that point, so.
It'd be nice if we could do it sooner than later. You know. Any questions for Nathan? Okay, we'll go to G, building permit reports. There are none. H, any other miscellaneous topics for future discussion? I have one. I would like to discuss the 101 class that the League of Municipalities puts out for new board members. If we could bring that forward to the next meeting, since we may have new board members.
I had something also, wondering if there was something with the sound system. I know that the video was covered at the last meeting, I think, but the sound system in here, a resident mentioned that it's very hard to hear out there, and I know I was sitting out there for public zoning, and it was difficult to hear, so I just wonder if there's something we can look at.
I think, yeah, it would be nice to discuss that.
And even here.
Yes.
It's
that we
hard.
would have, you know.
From one end to the other. You have a hard, yeah. Well, I had to ask Jane, because I thought it was just me, but you said you couldn't hear.
Well, the problem is we're a long
Right.
row facing this way,
Right.
so
Yeah.
Even if
anytime
we
you
could
talk,
curve.
it's like,
Right.
you know, you're you, but it's not,
So
it's a
could
very
we
long
Yeah.
bring
stretch
it
here.
to a meeting and discuss what we could possibly do? Any other topics? Okay, we'll go to 12, communications and miscellaneous business. A Black Otter Lake District News. Jane?
We met on Tuesday. we have a new logo. Everybody can see this, or I can pass it around. But it's our new bold logo. So that'll be going out on letterheads and, letterheads and whatnot, maybe magnets for trucks or boats or whatever. Aaron just put out the RFP for the watershed study. I don't know if you want to say anything about it.
So basically, we're looking for a consultant to look at not just the lake, but the entire watershed or area that drains into the lake, and look specifically at nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment inputs from that watershed into the lake, because those are the three main drivers of the nuisance aquatic plants that are in the lake right now. And if they can, a second part of that project would be to then highlight critical areas that may be contributing a lot of these pollutants to the lake, and then coming up with an action plan on things that we may be able to do in the future to mitigate that. So basically, looking outside of the actual water in the lake to try to help the water quality in the lake. So that went out today, and proposals are due by the end of March.
Would Fox Wolf Water Alliance be involved with that too? Because I know they were looking at that.
I know they do a lot of that too. I think, I'm hoping, once we have this study done, that they would be amenable to helping with implementation on some of the restoration. I think I'm going to come up with my handout to the county, to Foxville Watershed, to a whole bunch, because I think, our lake being the only lake with public boat access in the entire county, I think is kind of, people forget about that, and that there should be funding available, because a lot of people do use it and could use it if we could do some things to clean it up. So hopefully this is a step in that direction.
And we are, speaking of cleanup, Saturday, May 4th is Lake Cleanup Day. Anybody who wants to help volunteer. And our next meeting is on April 3rd at 5:30.
Any questions for Jane? Okay, we'll go to B, Hortonville, Hortonia Fire District News. Jim?
None.
Okay. C, Gold Cross Ambulance Run Report and News. It is in the packet. D, Hortonville Civic Association. Jane?
Nothing new.
And E, Senior Activities Committee. Pat?
We met last Thursday, and on Monday, we had coffee and conversation with Courtney Lindy, who's a physical therapist over at Orthopedic and Spine Therapy. Good discussion. Her topic was arthritis, but we covered a lot of different things. We had a good turnout, probably about 15 people, I think. March 4th is potluck and movie, and March 7th is our next meeting at noon. We are inviting outside agencies who we've collaborated with in the past, and we'll begin prepping for Senior Autumn Fest in October.
Any questions for Pat? Okay, we'll go to 13, comments and suggestions from citizens present. Any comments?
Yeah, what are we thinking for the interest rate on the repayment for Alley 3? I saw 7.5% in a couple of documents. I don't know if you guys nailed that down or what you think about that.
It says 7% on the document. 7%.
7%?
Yes.
On the principal amount, right? So not broken down in the installments of 4 and then 7% on that. You know what I'm saying? So like my total is $1,577, so 7.5% on that, 7%, sorry, divided by 4.
So it would be whatever the remainder is annually.
Annual rate.
Okay.
So that's what the 7% is.
Yeah, so not 7% one time, it's 7%
Yep.
per year.
Of the balance. Of the balance.
Of the balance, yeah.
Yeah.
So then this is pretty much cut and dried as far as we don't have to wait for another meeting and another,
No, it's,
Correct.
it's finished.
except the weekend.
Yes.
Yeah, we did the final. Any other comments from citizens? Okay, we'll go to 14. I would need a motion to go into closed session, and you would have to read them both.
Any takers?
I can do it.
Paddle it.
Make a motion to go into closed session under state statute 19.85, parent 1, parent G, conferring with legal counsel for the governmental body who is rendering oral or written advice concerning strategy to be adopted by the body with respect to litigation in which it is or is likely to become involved. And under state statute 19.85, parent 1, parent E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, the investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session.
Second.
Roll call, Grace?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Okay. 15, we will need 5 minutes recess to clear the meeting room. 18, any action on matters discussed in closed session? There is none. 19, I would need a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. We are now adjourned at 8:21.